play an option C. And by an option C, throw in a line that nobody's expecting. And that would be American GAs.
Right. So
nobody's expecting that. It might be a mess. Here's the thing. They have an opportunity to make a GA line specifically adapted to play against bombers. Like, from the ground up, because the Ilyushin line and the German GA line both came along before bombers did. They may have adjusted them to play with bombers, but for the most part, not well enough. Unless there's two player GAs on one side versus one bomber, which that's a losing notion to the bomber if it's all garrisons, which I've been in that situation before. Not pretty.
Right.
But American GAs, they're weird. Plain and simple, they're weird. Not because of how they're designed, but because of U.S. Air Arm / Air Force / Army Air Force. It went through multiple names during the interwar period. Doctrine. Right. Because they were sort of essentially scratching their heads over the whole concept. Yeah. One I want to point out, this would probably be more of a premium plane because of just how unusual this is. It would be a GA, yes, but this is an oddball. This is an extreme oddball. So this is, for the folks that are not aware of what I'm speaking about, this is called the Aeromarine PG-1. And this aircraft, you've probably never even heard of this thing.
Never heard of it.
So this thing first flew on the 22nd of August, 1922. This aircraft could be equipped... Well, actually, no. It isn't known if it could carry bombs, really, but the kicker here is its gun armament. It had a single machine gun, 12.7 millimeter, so a 50 cal before the well-known 50 cal.
Right.
And this is the kicker. A 37 millimeter cannon. And it had cockpit armor.
Oh.
A 1/4 inch thick.
And that certainly wasn't that wasn't in play during that time. There wasn't much in the 20s. Man, weight was everything. Oh, okay. Here I see it. I've loaded it up. That's super interesting. Wow. Okay. That would be a good start.
I mean, yes, as an introduction premium plane, yes, I'm thinking either tier 2 might be a stretch, but tier 3 maybe, but considering this thing came out quite a bit before the P-12, I don't know. But that might be the weird thing, but this would be hilarious to see this thing flying around in tier 3. It's bottom tier, right? So imagine an A6M1 comes along. He's never seen this thing before in the game. He looks at it, he's like, what the heck is this thing? You know what, I'm just going to leave this alone. He goes by, he's around in a sector. This guy's just pummeling things along, and the Zero's like, wait a minute, this guy's actually doing really good. Maybe I should mess with him. So he goes down and tries to, mess with him. And then all of a sudden, he gets in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he gets nailed by this 37 millimeter cannon.
Yep. Poof.
And then, not just poof, just like, let's just say he suddenly realizes he's missing one of his wings.
Right.
And he's just like, what the?
No, I like it.
And I've been pondering this. My answer is, and this is, I'm going directly off the posting I've been doing. So, I want to compare these first off to what these would be like compared to German and Russian GAs. So,
Mm-hmm.
American GAs would be more fragile than both, for the most part.
Mm.
There might be
Gotcha.
some exceptions, but for the most part, they're not as durable. They'd be quicker around the map than either one.
I see. Okay.
They would have generally a higher gun count than the German GAs, not necessarily harder hitting for the most part.
Right.
Again, there's some wild exceptions, but they would have just more guns.
Gotcha.
They would have more ordnance than the German GAs, but less than the Russian ones.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
And depending on the one you're looking at, they generally be even more maneuverable than German GAs, depending on the one you're looking at. So they'd be able to better defend themselves and fend off would-be nuisances. For instance, like, say, an annoying ADA on your tail. They'd actually be able to somewhat get around and blow them off, because, well, there ain't exactly one that I have found so far that really has defensive armament. That's another thing. These things would not have tail guns, for the most part.
Right.
At first, but they fall away, I'd say, as soon as tier 4 or even 5.
Sure.
Maybe even after the tier 3.
Because you got you got them like Helldiver or a TBF, right? Which those are naval, but
yeah, those are true. There are actually also army versions of them.
Ah, yes.
And so
and both of those had a Devastator, right? All those guys had defensive armament of some kind.
That's true, except it was very weak. It wasn't like a cannon or anything. It was just I think actually, let me...
Like light machine guns, mostly.
Yeah, I think the
like 30 cal
had... Let me double check it. 7.62 millimeter in a turret in the rear. Yeah, so it was 2. I thought it was 1 at first, but the Army version of the Dauntless was actually known as the A-24 Banshee.
Okay.
I don't know why they call it the Banshee, but they called it the Banshee. So this is the Banshee before the Banshee in the game at the moment.
Right. Well, you can't have too many Banshees. That's what I always say.
That's true. Before that one, right now in this list, I have up to around tier 5. So in my list, we have the Curtiss A3 Falcon, the A8 Shrike, which would module up to the YA-10. Then you get the A-12 Shrike, which has a radial engine. The YA-10 also had a radial, which led to the A-12. Then you have a little bit of an option at tier 4. There's a possibility for... there was actually a fighter that was built by Consolidated, the P-30, which had an attack version, the A-11.
Okay.
Then there's the Northrop XA-14. Post-edit Nova Tempest here. I misnamed the aircraft. The XA-14, I blurted out, is actually a Curtiss twin engine. That would be a solid tier 5, maybe 6, if you go to the Shrike 2, which is the A-18. However, what I meant to say was the YA-13. That's the one that's by Northrop, which led to the XA-16, also by Northrop, and then finally to the A-17 Nomad, which then was further improved to become the Douglas A-33, for some weird reason. Just wanted to clarify that before we went forward with this. Anywho, back to the video. XA-16, and that led to the A-17 Nomad. So that's where I'm at right now with that.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, the Tier 6 would probably be the Banshee, the first Banshee of the two. The
Gotcha. Yep.
I forgot the designation already. The A-24 Banshee. And then from there, let me pull up a notes on my. I keep a lists on my phone of this stuff because again, it's like I'm acting like a freaking archivist, even though that's not my job.
And right, so it presents an opportunity for both a flavor line. I mean, a kind of a mini line that you could get to from, let's say, the heavy fighter line, possibly, or from a multi-role line, where you could jump to this particular American GA, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like we've discussed. It could start at Tier 2. It could, or it could start in the middle somewhere. Or it could start closer to the end and then fill back if you wanted to. All this is possible, such that you get to a point where you've got something new and something that actually challenges bombers at the high tiers for getting around and doing stuff. I think it would require that Persia would have to, let's say, dial back on the instances of dual mining plant maps.
Yes, I agree.
Like cut them back a little bit so that they don't show up so often. And of course, this is going to make the bomber players a little bit gripey. I get that, but if you don't want your planes nerfed, you're going to have to make some sort of compromise. So Spirit Fox says, hey, look, we need to retool mining plants so you can do something different with the mining plants, like give them ADA or something. That takes programming resources. All right, that's going to be down the list. But up the list is taking some of these maps and saying, okay, in the rotation, these guys don't get as much play. Other maps get play. Like there's a Cold Peak map, if I remember correctly, that's got 4 garrisons. I'm pretty sure. But even if it didn't, I know that there's a Cold Peak map that doesn't have 2 plants. So you can you don't have to do Cold Peak and have 2 mining plants on it. You could have Cold Peak without 2 mining plants. So that it's a little more of a challenge for the bombers, and it's a big map, so it's suitable for Tier 10.
I found the plane I was talking. I found out where the gun I was talking about was. So it wasn't the A-18 Shrike. It was the XA-38 Grizzly that had this thing. It was a.
Gotcha.
It was a 75mm cannon.
Right.
Jumping back here, and you're absolutely right on that. So back to that list, and this is actually a surprisingly comprehensive list so far. I could find more, but it's fairly sizable at the moment. So I was at the Shrike 2. You have the Vultee V11 and V12, which would later become the YA-19. There's a Stearman XA-21. That thing's a bit of an oddball.
Yeah.
You have the A-24 Banshee. There's an A-25 Shrike. Notice how there's 3 different Shrikes. Like, what the heck?
Yes.
Then you have the Bomber not Bomber, the A-26B that's in the game. There's a variant of this that was a little more of a ground attack, but that one's more of a eh.
Right.
There's the Brewster XA-32. There's the Hughes D2, which would become the A-37. You have the A-38 Grizzly, as I mentioned. Kaiser Fleetwings even did a version, the A-39.
Ah, okay.
There's a Volti XA41. This next one I would love to see as the Tier 8. The A1 Skyraider.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, and it depends on when that was first made. Because I think that kind of shades maybe possibly into Tier 9. It's hard to know because of the timing. But the Skyraider is, I mean, it was used in Vietnam, so extensively, in fact.
It was it entered service in 1946.
Okay, so it's a potential Tier 8 for sure. And it had a gigantic bomb load. It was slow, but because it's a prop plane, but it had a huge bomb load, and it was stout. It was a stout aircraft. So, that's it would be an argument to be made as a counter to everybody and their dog flying the stupid B-29C. Hey, why don't we get into some gameplay?
Of course, yes. Sorry, I'm being all archivist and freaking informational here, and I'm getting freaking sidetracked because I'm trying to be informative and interesting, and here we are in a game too, and I'm like, oh well, shit. Now, there is an argument to be made that the Tier 9 and Tier 10 could potentially be the Douglas A3 Sky Warrior and the Douglas A4 Skyhawk, respectively, for that line. Potentially.
Right.
So, that is something else to consider. Food for thought. Take it or leave it. Alright. Chillyville and a Blenheim F.
Huh.
And that GA's name. Bubble blower.
I like that. Yeah. The Skyhawk, again, Heineman's Hot Rod is a well-known aircraft. Again, it's it for Tier 10. That's it might be a little bit late. It depends. Like I said, it depends on when it first started service, because we don't want to get too far into the 50s, because I think that kind of violates the spirit of how the game does the thing as far as a timing of when the planes arrived.
I mean, to be fair, the Hunter basically broke all of that because that was introduced in '58.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess we could get around. You can get around it, but yeah, the Skyhawk. The Skyhawk would be a fantastic addition as a GA because it also carried a bunch of bombs. I don't know if it had a 20mm cannon or not. I can't remember about its gun armament. I'd have to look that up. I sometimes have encyclopedic knowledge about certain planes, and other planes I don't know crap without looking it up.
Yeah. Of course, I got sandwiched between two humans there. Dang nabbit. Yes, but it's not your fault. I'm more focused on listening to you than actually, beating the snot out of people, because that's never nice.
That's right.
But yes, I am in agreement there, because holy shamoly. And it wouldn't be it's not too bombery either to be like, hey, this could be a GA instead, because it's not going to be like big and hefty and extremely fast or anything nuts, but it fits. It just makes sense.
Huh. That was weird.
Well, I did. Oh wait, what happened?
Oh, I caught on fire, and for some reason I was stalling out. I don't know how that happened.
Did you have a knocked out engine?
I didn't until I got shot. So, oh well. I don't know what happened there. I was chattering
for
instead of
another day.
Yep. Haha! I love a bomber with forward-facing guns. Thank you for the assist, by the way. I appreciate that.
More than welcome.
Yeah. So, there's I see my heavy fighter pal, Chili Billy. Generally, he's a pretty good player.
I mean, yeah, he was in OWSS for a while.
Yes, he was. I got rammed. Oh well, ramming happens. Oh man, he's an expert with this particular plane. He's got like 7 marks.
Yeah.
Oops, that's you.
Yeah, that was I got whacked by a yak before that, so not much I was going to do there.
I do hate the yak whack, I gotta tell you.
Yak whacks suck.
So,
now, jumping back real fast to the list. I skipped a pile here. So, another interesting one. Now, there could be arguments made, possibly, to maybe... I'm not... Now, of course, because there is no Tier 9 or Tier 10 aircraft in this entire game that has a piston engine.
Right. That's true.
However, what tended to happen with the American ground attack aircraft post-war is that they started to go toward counterinsurgency. So, one of the aircraft I brought up in the list is the OV-1 Mohawk.
Yep. Which is, I mean, it's lightly armored and didn't have much armament, right? It's more of an observer plane than it is an attack aircraft. So it makes it difficult, right? That's
true. And then there's also the Piper PA-48 Enforcer. That's another one similar similar breed. Let's see. There's another intriguing one that I was not aware of at the time. Let me dig this up, the look of this up. There is a variant of the North American T-28 Trojan that was used in the ground attack role.
Ah. Well, that could be potentially interesting as well. Let's see, what do we got here? I'm looking at A4. I'm looking at the A4. I'm trying to find out what its gun armament was. Yeah. So as far as it could, the A4 could take along a boatload of bombs. And one of the things it did was it took along a lot of 500 pounders. So it could take a lot of 500 pounders. And so if I remember correctly, it could carry approximately the same bomb load as the B-17. Or am I remembering that incorrectly? I'll have to...
Now, here's the kicker. With an American bomber, or not American bomber, American GAA. So the heaviest bomb in the game right now is the SC-1000, and that thing is, let me cross-check myself.
Well, it's a 1-ton bomb, 2,200 pounds of explosive.
2,200. So the Skyhawk could carry any of the Mark 80 series of unguided bombs.
Yep.
And those, the Mark 84 was a 2,000 pounder. I would say, hold on, let's see. Well, what's the maximum bomb load? Does it say on here? A capacity of, with a capacity of 8,500 pounds. So, 4 2,000 pound bombs, or 4 1,000 pound bombs. There's some play there.
So I would probably outfit it with 8 500-pound bombs, and the reason is that now you're in the region of what, let's say, an IL-40P could do, right?
I mean, there is only 5 pylon stations available on it.
I would suggest that multiple ejector racks could go on the inboard pylon mounts. It would be interesting to see if that's possible or not.
Okay.
So at least from what I can see, that that it had 20 millimeter cannon.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yep. And so it had 2 20 millimeter cannon, which and it's reasonably maneuverable. And had a big bomb load. Now we're talking about something that feels kind of like a multi-role, but has the ground pounding ability of a GA.
Yes, and I'd say, to be specific, I'd say the A4A Skyhawk, because that was like one of the first ones to come about, and right around 1958, so about the same time period as the Hunter.
Right. And so, like the Republic line is configured more as for MRF, for multi-role fighters, as the Republic line is more of a bomb truck carrier, and the Corsair line, the Navy line, is more of a fightery, more of a fightery line. This would be a ground attack aircraft that's headed toward multi-role area rather than being a great big old tank with wings like the IL-40P, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I was actually slightly wrong on its introduction date. It was 2 years earlier than that. So it was introduced in the 1st of October, 1956.
Okay. So we're right in there. I mean, it's right in there with the idea, like the Hunter is late, right? So
yeah, I'd say that's like the Hunter is like the end cap. That's as far as it goes. Anything introduced after that, let's not try to aim for.
Right. And I like the idea of maybe the ground attack aircraft not being so much of a tank, but being a bomb truck, yes, but not so much of a tank, and something that can really super defend itself well. And the guns are good enough so that when you're done dropping your bombs, now you can also defend yourself and maybe take on other GAs in zone, take on the multi-rolls that will certainly come and find you. For game balance reasons, you'd have to give it altitude restrictions, but maybe it would have a higher altitude than the other GAs. Maybe not as much as an MRF, but higher than the other GAs. So you could actually do something. It would be the most multi-role of the GAs, even maybe more multi-role than the IL-10M, which
potentially,
arguably
yes,
which is arguably the best ground attack aircraft of Tier 8. An argument can be made.
And another thing, harkening back to the flavor line sort of argument. So potentially, the American GAA line could also even be split or it could fork at the end. You'd have the A4 on one side. Before it, you'd have the Douglas A3 Sky Warrior, which could lead to the B-66 Destroyer as an alternate Tier 10 American GA, which is more like a dedicated GA than a multi-role.
I see what you're saying.